You're now watching Sports Bettors Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.
All right, Jimmy Ott along with Paul Stone. We got games, baby. Yes, indeed. The week 0, we'll have those later in the week. But it's our last of the conference previews from a handicapping perspective with some futures. Let's get right to it. Paul, let's look at the Conference USA and Liberty. Well, they went 12-0 in this league last year, and they're better. Got the coach back in his second year, Jamie Chadwell, and they were able to hold on to the quarterback, Salter, also after some pursuers, certainly at that position. Win total's 10.5 at Bet Rivers, minus 137 to the over.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at this Liberty team, Jimmy, and they're just head and shoulders above the rest of Conference USA there. You mentioned Caden Salter, a guy from the Dallas-Fort Worth area who originally signed with the University of Tennessee out of high school. Last year threw for 2,876 yards, rushed for another 1,089 yards. He accounted for 44 touchdowns, 32 through the air, and 12 more rushing. So he's a dynamic dual-threat quarterback. He's one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in college football, period. Very athletic, and like you said, for Liberty, the Flames, to be able to hold on to Caden Salter in the age of the transfer portal and NIL was really a great recruitment, frankly, for Liberty. So he's kind of as he goes, they go, and as long as he remains healthy, I just think Liberty, this win total of over 10.5, juiced at minus 137, they could be favored by double digits in their 11 games other than the trip to Appalachian State in September. That game, some operators have a game of the year line on that game. That game's currently pick, so that could go either way. There are other 11 games, though, again, could be favored by double digits. Looking at some of those games, I've got them by my numbers favored by between 11.5 and 14.5 points in 6 of those other games, and then by 20 or more in the other 5. So, we always talk about losable games, and they just don't have that many losable games. That conference is Conference USA. Bless their heart, they're by far the weakest FBS conference. I think I saw a power rating poll that wasn't mine, but the nearest Conference USA, they had the teams ranked 1 to 134, and the closest team to Liberty in Conference USA was 40 spots below Liberty. So there's just a significant disparity between Liberty and the rest of that conference. And if he stays healthy, I think they're going over 10.5. And if they win at Appalachian State in September, I think it's pretty much game over. So I like a talented Liberty team to go over 10.5 regular season wins, minus 137 there at Bet Rivers.
Talented and well coached as well. When they lost Hugh Freeze, they did a nice job of getting Jamie Chadwell. The thing about it, I was a little surprised he took the job. I think he had some stronger offers than Liberty, but Liberty's got a little coin. They got a little budget to work with. And the bottom line is this team was head and shoulders above the rest of their competition last year. It's only widened this year. So with all that they have returning. So over 10.5 minus 137. Let's get to the MAC, baby. MACtion. We love our MACtion midweek action later in the season when they get into conference play. We're looking at Miami, Ohio. Miami, Ohio went 7-1 in conference play last year. Only lost Toledo. They avenged that loss in the conference championship game. They are the defending MAC champions. You're looking at the conference wins, which is 5.5. Over is minus 162. With returning quarterback Brett Gabbert back for the defending MAC champions.
Yeah, I mean, this Miami of Ohio team, like a lot of group of 5 teams, in the spirit of full disclosure, they did get poached a little bit by some of the Power 4 schools, and specifically Southeastern Conference schools came calling. They lost their 1,000-yard running back, Rashad Amos. He's off to Ole Miss, their top receiver. Left for South Carolina, and their first team defensive end, Caden Woolard, he left for Oklahoma. He had 9.5 sacks last year, so they've lost some talent, but they did hang on to their quarterback, Brett Gabbert. He's thrown for almost 7,900 yards in his career over 5 seasons. He started 37 games across those 5 seasons. One thing that's a little bit of a concern here when you take Miami of Ohio over their conference win total is the fact that Gabbert, he's only played 10 or more games in 2 of those 5 seasons. So he's been injury prone. We're hopeful, obviously, with this over ticket that he's going to stay healthy. Looking at their conference schedule, they're going to be favored potentially in every game in their conference, all 8 games. Road trips to Toledo and Bowling Green. I've got them right now as a small favorite. Those games could go off at pick. They could even be a small underdog, but certainly the possibility of being favored in all 8 MAC games. And we're only looking at over 5.5 conference wins here at minus 143. So I just like this Memphis team. Miami team rather. The RedHawks, again, with a veteran quarterback, do have a lot of players back, continuity in the coaching staff, just a lot to like about them. Some of the other teams in the conference, too, are down. Toledo's down, Ohio's down. So that certainly makes a difference when you're looking at these conference win totals. So again, Mineville, Ohio, over 5.5 conference wins there in the MAC.
Paul, we talked about this last year with the bigger programs coming in and poaching the mid majors. And the geographical positioning of the MAC, they get it from all areas. I mean, they get, certainly from the Big Ten, but the Pac-12 last year, the SEC. I mean, they're getting it from all over. So I don't think there's another mid-major conference that gets poached and recruited like they do. I'm going to stay in the MAC, and I like an over as well. Yeah, hold your horses here. Joe Moorhead took over a 3-27 program. Now he's not exactly lighting it up. Back-to-back 2-10 seasons. But they were certainly more competitive in his second year. This will be his third year with the Akron Zips, and they lost 3 overtime games last year. And there's quick fixes, and there's kind of, you want to try and do it, and I'll get to another one I'll pick later, kind of trying to create a little bit of a stability. And trying to create a little bit. That's tough at Akron. Remember, Akron Bowling Green wasn't long ago. Somebody's got to win a bowl. So, but man, they're going to flip a couple of those games around. 3.5 is the total right now. I'm going to take Joe Moorhead in his third season with the Akron Zips over 3.5. So a couple of MAC picks right there. Paul, let's switch over to the American and looking at the Memphis Tigers. Getting a lot of chatter. Possibility of maybe running the table. That trip to Tallahassee. We'll get a glimpse of the Florida State Seminoles in the high-profile games. Not just Week 0 in Dublin, but also Labor Day night, the standalone Monday night game against Boston College. Memphis, the American, you got this fun, more wins, teams versus teams. You have them getting more wins, regular season wins this year than the Tennessee Volunteers in state.
Yeah, first of all, Tennessee would be about a 9.5 or 10-point favorite over Memphis if they were to play on a neutral site, say they're in Nashville. But obviously, that's not the handicap here. Teams play disparate schedules in college football. And I just think Memphis, one of the co-favorites there in the American Athletic Conference, has a solid shot to record more regular season wins than Tennessee. The Volunteers, first of all, they don't play a particularly difficult schedule by SEC standards. Now, I was looking at one publication, had their schedule ranked the 52nd toughest in all of college football, so not very tough by SEC standards. But you look at Memphis's schedule, and it's ranked 99th by that same publication. So other than that game that you mentioned, the Week 3 trip to Tallahassee to play Florida State, not a particularly difficult schedule for Memphis. By my numbers, looking at that Florida State game, they figure to be about a 14.5 to 16.5 point underdog at present. And other than that, the Tigers could be favored again in all 11 of their games. They do have road trips to South Florida, Texas, San Antonio, and Tulane, and those certainly are far from gimmies, but they could be the favorite in all 3 of those games. You look at Tennessee, they have road games at Oklahoma and Georgia. They have that neutral site game against NC State, I believe, in Week 2 there in Charlotte, and then home games against Florida, Alabama, and Kentucky. So they've got some games. They've got some new faces. They're excited about their new quarterback. Got a good receiving core. Do have to replace some people in the back in that secondary. So there are some questions there. Memphis, I can see them winning 10 games. Maybe not easily, but certainly they have the look of a 10-win team. 9 wins seems very doable. Tennessee, on the other hand, they have a much tougher road to hoe to get to 9 wins or 10 wins. So I like Memphis to record more regular season wins than Tennessee there at Bet Rivers at the very reasonable price of just minus 106.
So you're high on one American team. We'll go to another American pick that you're not so high on. That's the Mean Green of North Texas. And we sat here and did the American preview last year, and I'm like, man, really? Are they firing a coach at North Texas that makes regular trips to bowl games? Well, they want more action. They want the ball up in the air. Well, they got more the ball up in the air more, but they had a losing season last year. One of the other byproducts for a mid-major that's all offense, that's easy. He had this many receiving yards, this many rushing yards. That only attracts more competitors to try and raid your roster, which has happened as well. The Mean Green, that win total is 5.5. You're looking at the under at a plus price at Bet Rivers at plus 130.
Yeah, North Texas, first of all, for the good, they did pick up former TCU quarterback Chandler Morris through the transfer portal, and I really like Morris. I mean, a few years ago when TCU upset Baylor, he was the starting quarterback, and he had more than 400 yards total offense, and that game really stands out in my mind. But other than picking up Chandler Morris, the Mean Green certainly were net losers in the transfer portal. Last year, they averaged 34.5 points a game, so very prolific offensively. But the losses, again, very heavy on that side of the ball. They lose their top running back, Yo Adeyi. He goes to James Madison. He was a 1,000-yard rusher last year. And then his cohort in the backfield, 738-yard rusher Oscar Attaway III, goes to South Carolina. Their 1,000-yard receiver, Jamori Macklin, he's taken up residence in the SEC as well there at the University of Kentucky. So that's a lot of production that's just not going to be easily replaced there in Denton. They also have to replace 3 starting offensive linemen. I know we forget about the big guys up front sometime, but you got to get those guys. I heard a guy the other day say, it's like putting together a new offensive line. It's like a big dance, among big guys, and you got to get them to moving right and in sync and so forth, and it takes time. So never omit your analysis of that offensive line, and they got some new guys there. I don't think they're averaging 34 or 34 and a half points a game, what they've averaged the last couple of seasons. I don't think they're going to get there, and this is a team, again, that's leaned heavily on their offense to get their victories in recent years. Last year, for instance, they gave up 42 and 37 points in victories, gave up 31 points in another victory. So I don't know that they're going to be revved up enough to outscore teams again this year in that manner. So this to me just looks like a sub 500 team. You can get it at plus money there at Bet Rivers, under 5.5, plus 130 North Texas there at Bet Rivers, regular season win total.
All right, let's switch over to the Mountain West Conference and look at Hawaii, who's going to be on the schedule for week 0 this week against Delaware State. And, man, a couple of years ago, it was rough. I mean, Todd Graham, they can't stand him. He's suing the school. They're suing him. It was as ugly as you get. So they wanted to go to one of their favorite sons, and a record-breaking quarterback, Timmy Chang. He took over an impossible situation. Went 3-10, and it started bad. 63-10 right out the chute on week 0 a couple of years ago at home to Vanderbilt. I mean, it was rough. Went to 5-8 last year. Now, keep in mind, I'm citing regular season records: 3-10, 5-8. Yeah, do the math. It's 13 games. They only played 12 games. That's a little bit of a caveat on this pick. But this is easily Timmy Chang's best team. I mean, easily. He's got buys before trips to Sam Houston State and San Diego State. Utah State on the road is winnable as well. And he's got a quarterback who is productive, should only fine-tune his skills a little bit as well. So I'm going with Hawaii over the 5. 4.5. Some of us got on it early. That's gone. I apologize. But over 5 wins right now is at a price of minus 139 at Bet Rivers. So we'll see. But easily this is Chang's best roster.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the quarterback, like you said. Their top wide receiver, Stephen McBride, 1,000-yard receiver last year. He's not listed on their week 0 roster. He had some, I think he had a rest in the offseason. But I figure he's going to be back for maybe a 1-game suspension. So that's certainly something to watch there. So, Hawaii is always an interesting handicap. I actually got Hawaii plus 17 over UCLA early in the summer on a Game of the Year ticket. That line now down to UCLA minus 13, 13 and a half there on the island. So always a great watch there in Hawaii. And they're a program that obviously doesn't have great resources. They struggle to keep the program funded. They've had stadium issues. Recruiting is very difficult, although they're in a very beautiful, scenic part of the world. So I think we all kind of root for the Rainbow Warriors, and certainly Timmy Shang, as you mentioned, one of their favorite sons. Certainly hope he can get it done this year and get to 6 wins and get to a bowl and have some success there.
All right, let's move on to the Sun Belt and a team that's been really good. And it is a stepping stone job for a lot of coaches. Neil Brown had success there. He's at West Virginia and kind of fended off, the hot seat last year and had a very good season. And then you had Sumrall, who had some very good seasons as well. He replaced Willie Fritz at Tulane, so he took that job. And, whenever you have a coaching change, it's a transition. But he took some defensive players. From Sumrall to the new coach, it's a style, a personality transition. So this is one. I think this is a good job by you, Paul, to identify. This might be where Troy's number in their win total at 6.5 might be a little bit reputation based because of their recent success. This is a major transition at Troy, Alabama.
Oh, it is. I mean, they've had, under John Sumrall in his 2 seasons there at Troy, 23 wins over those 2 seasons. But how the mighty have fallen in the Sun Belt. I mean, the losses are very heavy. I see the Trojans as a 500 team as best. As you mentioned, John Sumrall off to Tulane. Parker comes in. I think there's a drop-off there. And again, there's certainly a transition. Anytime you have a changeover, they lose their veteran quarterback, Gunnar Watson. Kamani Vidal, the running back, he rushed for over 1,600 yards last year. So that's a lot of production. They also lose a host of defensive standouts. In fact, they only return 2 of their top 14 tacklers. And overall, they only return, according to one publication, 4 starters, 2 on offense, 2 on defense. So this is just not the same roster. In the age of the transfer portal, rosters can turn over in such just a prominent manner that the only thing that's the same when you return in September is the name on the the front of the jersey or on the helmet or whatever. So it's a completely different team, a different staff. They've got about 6 conference games that could go either way. They do have non-conference games though, rather than play easy teams. They do have to be the punching bag for some big boys, so they have road trips to Memphis and Iowa. I just think 6-6 would be a great accomplishment for this team. I like the under 6.5 wins at minus 143 there at Bet Rivers.
Yeah, Paul, I don't have all the names, but he took just about every impact defensive player that still had eligibility with him to New Orleans as well, to Tulane. So going to be that's one that I really like with Troy, under 6.5 at Bet Rivers. Final mid-major pick, group of 5, whichever you choose. Go down to the Sun Belt. And old Butch Jones, champion of life, baby. The garbage can on the sideline when they get a turnover, the whole shebang. Forget all of that. But quietly, and I know, the rivals and 24/7 and the rest of them, I don't exactly rank the Sun Belt classes. They don't get as much run. But quietly, Butch Jones has the highest rated Sun Belt recruiting class 3 of the last 4 years. One of the players that he got in those highly rated classes was quarterback Jalen Rayner. Jalen Rayner was a true freshman last year, and he was pretty doggone good. What kind of jump is he going to have after being comfortable and productive as a true freshman? 16 returning starters as well from a team that won 6 games last year. And they're definitely better. Talking about doing it for quick fixes or doing it for stability. Arkansas State's got to do a real chance to make some noise in the Sun Belt. And a soft price, over 6 at Bet Rivers at just minus 106 right now. Champions of life, baby. We're doing it in Arkansas now instead of Tennessee. But Butch Jones may have a little something working. Again, they went 6-6 last year. This is a better team with the quarterback that should just be that much better after his true freshman baptism last year, Paul.
Yeah, Rayner's an athletic quarterback, and like you, if I would have, gone one more selection, I would have probably thrown Arkansas State over in there as well. This is a wide open Sun Belt Conference race, and like you, I'm anxious to see what Rayner can do in year 2. You indicated also he's stacked up the recruiting classes. It's kind of there for the taking, for somebody to come maybe off the pace a little bit, maybe not on the, the front of the page. And it could be an Arkansas State, could be a Texas State. I think it's a wide open league. It's going to be an entertaining league. And Arkansas State's probably going to put up some points. And I think this is a team that's going to exceed that 500 mark. So I'm totally in concurrence with your estimation there, the Red Wolves.
All right. So later in the week 0 picks. It's a limited card, but we'll talk about all of the games from Montana State, New Mexico, to Hawaii, Delaware State, to in Dublin, Ireland, to Florida State and Georgia Tech. For Paul Stone, I'm Jimmy Ott. We'll see you later in the week talking college football here in the Sports Bettors Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.